Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to do a nice little painting, maybe with a mountain in the background, kind of looking through the forest at the mountain. Of course, if you're enjoying these, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. All right, let's get started. We'll start off today here with our 2-inch brush and some blue. And I'm just going to come right up to the top here and work in a very small sky. Now I did put just a little clear gel and white at the top, like always. And it kind of helps things along a little. There, good enough. And then just a touch on the other side because, well, I really don't know what's actually going to happen over here. We may do more mountains, or this may be a sky. I don't even know the shape of the mountain yet. We'll figure it out in a second. So I'll come down just far enough so that I don't have to bring the mountain up too tall where maybe I didn't want to. Now I've got just a little bit of blue and white, and I've started right up here. I guess there's some black in it too. And I've started right up here sketching because I know that I want a mountain up here somewhere. And we got to figure it out right now, because if we don't figure it out now, well, it's going to be difficult to put the color in the right spot and all that good stuff. So anyway, let's see. I've got a little line there. I've got that one here. And I know there's going to be large trees that cut this mountain off. So I don't have to worry about it in the areas that I think I'm going to have a large tree. Of course, that's all great until I decide not to put the tree there, and then I've got a weird mountain. So I'll be very careful not to skip over areas where I'm not totally sure I'm going to put a tree. There. So now I'm coming in with these little lines just to indicate, and these are very random and loose, honestly. It's not, when you do lines and sketches like this, it's not so much the actual shape that you're going for. Like, I don't care if this is the shape is exactly what I had in mind. The idea more is the placement and the flow of the mountain, and the shadows and all that good stuff. So if it's not totally perfect, who cares? Let's slide down here and let me do right about here, right about the bottom third-ish. Let's do oops, that's way too far over. See, that's why you sketch. Let's do our little river. Now with the bigger brush, I changed to a 3/4, so we get things done a little faster. This will be done very easily with a filbert as well. It just happened to be the one that I grabbed. We're gonna go ahead and scrub in, so you don't use a new one. This is a fairly old one. Filbert brush is probably a better choice, but anyways, we're going to scrub in the rest of our little mountain area. Now, I'm being very careful not to get it solid, as well as trying to maintain some of my sketch. Not all of it, but some of it, because otherwise what's the point, right? There we go. Now, up in this area, there's about 3 inches that's, I would say, pretty well covered with medium, and that's not great. I mean, it was easy to paint. It's actually way easier than down here, but not great because it's going to be slippery when we go to highlight, and that'll be frustrating. So after I do a few more minutes of this, what I'll do is I'll stop, crumple up a little paper towel, and just come in here and, take off a little bit of the paint so that all that's left is the stuff that's actually worked into the grain of the canvas. It's like the #1 thing you can do right before you highlight. Just do this. So what if you mess up your mountain shape a little? Who cares? It's better than messing up the highlight, right? And there you have it. And I decided to take the mountain up right off the top there, just to give us a nice dark area in the corner. All right, well, this is funny. I forgot to paint clouds. I don't know, I was planning on it, and I just totally forgot. That's just, yikes. Anyway, so let's paint some clouds. It's not too late. Who cares if we hit our mountain? It's not a big deal. Hey, we could actually float some clouds over the mountain. Wasn't planning on that today, but might be fun. There we go. So, hey, maybe it's good that I forgot these, because you can see that just occasionally things happen. And you can fix them. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to let it throw you off. Maybe some people would let that throw them off, and, don't let it get to you. It doesn't matter. Painting isn't that big of a deal. There. It doesn't have to be scary all the time. It's just not that bad. It's actually a lot of fun. Once you get you gotta know the techniques though, because that helps. Doing the wrong technique over and over again and not having success, that's frustrating. Why would you want to do that? So we've got some full-length lessons. We don't cut anything out. I'm just like teaching you how to paint. Everything you need to know. You see all the details very slowly, all that good stuff. So you can get those on the website if you want. Okay, that's good enough on the clouds. Let me just blend them real quick with a 2-inch brush. We can kind of just mush them into the background a little. All right, so I'm just finishing up with the final highlight. I like blending the clouds and then putting on an accent highlight with my softer little detail round brush. Okay, so now let's go ahead and work on that mountain. So let me take some brown and white plus a little mud. And I don't care what the mud is, obviously, because it's just there to kind of tone down the color. So you guys know how I like to do color. And if you haven't seen my color mixing video, it's somewhere on here. Maybe we can put a link to it in the description or something, but it helps you kind of understand how I do all my color mixing. At least you know the thoughts that I have when I do it. And it might help you, because it makes life easier when you're not fighting your colors. There, you're not struggling. And it does take practice, but not as much as maybe you would think. There, I really like this brush. This is a good brush for mountains that are maybe not super far away, but you know, not like crazy distant, but also not super close. This is a good brush. It's got a good size to make a lot of little rocks fairly quickly. I'm using colors that are soft, definitely with some brown tones. The brown tones will help because the brown tones are on the warm side of the mountain. And then, you know, maybe more blue. We can have brown on the other side, but maybe more blue on the other side of the mountain. Cool colors. So that kind of gives it some contrast of warm and cool colors. Nice. All right, let's get a little more highlight out here. Maybe way down here, and I'm just guessing kind of because I lost my sketch. But oh well. There. Right about there. Gonna have some more light. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on some of the details here using the shadow color. And this is really good because it helps to, you know, form the mountain a little better, especially as we come up here into the foreground area. Well, the midground area, not really the foreground area, is it? There. So I can also throw, here's my color. I can also throw a little brown into it. It's essentially a purple, but you know, who knows, it's got so much in it now, but you can throw a little brown in that. See, just kind of pop in some browns every once in a while, kind of wipe your brush out. And not all of the shadows need to be super dark. You know, some of them can be a bit lighter. Makes the rock, you know, look like maybe the light kind of is coming around it, like it's a more round rock. Who knows? Just do variations of different things. You don't want each and every rock the same, because that would be kind of weird, wouldn't it? Now, as you come down, really work at trying to get just a little bit more color in the rocks. That's maybe a little too dark. There. Just get a little more color in it. And then as you go back, I'll transition right back into the purple, because the purple shows a little bit more distance. There. And of course, you don't want to just leave even the dark areas. You don't want to leave them blank. So slide over here, get a little more purple. A little black in the purple is not a bad thing. And just work at trying to get a little bit more detail, even in the shadows. Now we can quickly and easily drop in a few trees here. Make sure you get them big enough that they look proportional. There. At the same time, obviously, don't get them too big, otherwise the mountain gets to be pretty small. There you go. It's very easy to change, though. If you get one you don't like, you can kind of just mush it into the background, or kind of wipe it off with a paper towel, and then mush it in. You got some options. Now I'll take some nice dark color. Well, not totally black, but getting there. And let's work on some of the grass areas. I started back here with a slightly lighter color. You know how I like to do it. I start with the color in the back that's a little bit lighter because I like to create just a little bit of depth in my underpainting. I realize it's not a ton, but every little bit helps, doesn't it? There we go. And I'm being really, as you can tell, really not too concerned about this area because I don't think it matters. I think we're gonna have a lot of trees there. I think we're gonna have thick trees and evergreens. We may do other kinds of trees as well mixed in. We'll see. We'll see. Haven't totally decided yet. For sure evergreens though. There. But we may bring a birch tree in, but we may not. And I tell you that just so that you can kind of follow along, you know, in my mind as to where we're going. Makes it a little better that way. I'm going to throw a little brown because I think we're going to have a shoreline. I mean, this is the river after all. We want a little shoreline there. So we'll do some brown. That'll help to represent the dirt when the time comes. And there you have it. So we're doing careful planning in our underpainting, and it's going to It's going to make life a little better down the road. There. Oops, threw some red in there. Did that on purpose because I want to have a lot of beautiful color changes. Let me borrow some of that, bring it over here. And when I'm done with this, I'll wipe it all down with a paper towel to remove any of the leftover paint that's still sitting on top of the canvas. Now I'm just finishing up here, adding in some trees. This is just dark paint kind of drugged right over the background. The reason I did that right now instead of later is so that we don't have a whole bunch of layers of paint, having to layer the dark over the light over the dark, over and over again to make a lot of mud. This way we have less layers. And, if something like happens, like I go over the tree a bit, then who cares? I did that there just to make a point that it didn't make any difference. So there you go. We're going to just continue with this, just very lightly kind of rubbing and pulling. I'm trying to get it to mix just a little, not a lot. Trying to get it to mix as if you have to try to make things mix, right? But just allow it to mix a bit. Don't go overly soft with your brush strokes. Obviously, the lighter you press, the less it mixes. Let's just draw a lot of light right through this area. Be very pretty, I think. Some areas are going to be brighter, and some maybe have some nice cast shadows. You can do that, see, by just pulling some strokes of different colors. There. Next, let's go ahead and throw in some limbs to these trees. And of course, we'll actually use the script liner and put in the detail of the limb. I'm just throwing on the little pine needles at this point. So you'll notice, look how easy this is. This is like the easiest tree to add dark and light to. We're going to highlight, it'll be easy then too. The reason is, look what I'm painting over, which is really almost nothing, and I wiped it with a paper towel. So it's almost as good as a dry canvas. In fact, probably better because, I don't know, I think painting with fairly thick oils over a dry canvas, like when you scrub in, like for instance, the water down here, I did some water. I scrubbed it over a dry canvas. It took me a while. There. So this is good. I like that. That's just enough texture, not too much. There. And then there's a couple trees here, some have fallen over, and stuff just happens, right? In the woods, you want a lot of variation. Every once in a while, but not all the time, bring these limbs over the tree trunk, but not all the time. Sometimes they're in the back, sometimes they're just shooting right off from the side, so you don't want to just fill it in solid. That would probably not be the best thing. There. And you have to imagine which limb goes to which tree, or you can kind of just throw it in at random, and then that works for the top at least, and then kind of figure it out later. Maybe not so great for the bottom, but sure, go for it at the top if you want to. There. Nice. And then this tree is so big that I think most of its limbs are off the painting. Or at least most of its living limbs, because they drop the limbs as they go down, of course. Or as they grow up, as you go down the tree, as they grow up. They drop limbs. There. So we'll do a few dead ones. And then right over here as well, we'll just keep going. Of course, there's this little guy. We got to do some to this little guy, but look how easy it is. So by pre-planning the painting, you sure do make your life so much easier. Well, totally worth every minute of pre-planning. Now, one of the final things that we're going to do up here is really highlight these trees. These are evergreens, and you want to make sure the bark is nice and rough on them. We have a pretty strong light coming from the right. Of course, I mean, you can easily see that now with the highlight on, although it wasn't necessarily apparent. I guess the mountain kind of shows it, doesn't it? There. Great. Always do those with nice large bases to the tree. I think that makes them look better. And of course, you don't want to do them totally solid. You can have areas that are broken up and, areas with less light, all that good stuff. You can always add those back in with dark. Cool. Nice. While you're at it, now would be a great time to actually throw some color on these rocks. Make sure that the rocks are extremely sharp and detailed. Otherwise, they look kind of far away if you make them fuzzy. There. Nice. And then on this one, just a sliver of light right out on that one. The sliver right there. Good. This is a lot of fun. Just keep doing this all day long. All right here as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and layer on some highlight here. This will really help to finish up the painting, make it look detailed, obviously very bright and sunlit. There. You can see how the branches really play a big role in the tree. Very big role in the structure and how the trees kind of feel on the canvas, how they look, how it makes the rest of the scene look. It just makes a difference because of the contrast. Ordinarily not so important. The branches are kind of just there. But on this particular painting, they're a little more important because of the amount of contrast that we purposely put in that area. It just lights that whole area up. So anyway, there you go. I'm just going to continue to put highlight on the branches. Not too much, but enough that it shows a lot of sunlight. All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching.